his mind, and he spent 7 years in a Nazi concentration camp, and luckily he survived the war. Okay, I think we can all head back to our seats.
Yeah.
Want to do that? Get these old bones up.
So unfortunately with this poem, that's how a lot of people react to major events. I heard it all day yesterday. So what happened yesterday?
I wasn't here yesterday.
Big news event happened yesterday morning. It was a current event, maybe somewhere in Pennsylvania. School stabbing. And I heard it all day long. Well, that's in Pennsylvania. Who cares about them? And that's the same attitude that comes out in this poem, right? It's them. It's not me. It's fine if it's them, but it better not happen to me. And that's the attitude that should come out in this poem here. So what did you guys think? And then we spent the last few days talking about all of these people, how Parliament came to be, or how Hitler got in power with the votes. Did this kind of lead you in the direction of how visually it went down? Make more sense than just trying to take notes on it. It should have carried a lot more power, especially with this. It probably would have carried a little more had everybody been here all week. But that's okay.
How did Hitler sneak into power?
Asking around for people to vote for him.
He didn't sneak into power. He went around just the way you did, and he got people to vote for him. They voted for him.
He's a man because that's what you
But no, they voted for him. Can you imagine? And after they were finished voting for him, then the bad things started to happen, because then he had power. And this was 80 years ago. It's 80 years ago. It's amazing. Is that right? 80 years ago. Yeah. It's 81 years ago.
81 years ago.
Yeah. And it's called the Nazi seizure of power. They grabbed it. Well, they didn't grab it through any kind of revolution or coup or military action or anything, or assassination. They got voted in. And who voted for them? The Bavarians did. The industrialists did. The Junkers did. And lots of workers thought, he's going to put us back to work. He's great. This is going to be wonderful. Didn't turn out that way. And so then people of conscience began to speak out. So on the back of this is another quote, this time from 1563. What are we talking about here? That's 450 years ago. And his name is Fray Bartolomé de las Casas. He was a Dominican friar. He was a priest who came with the Spaniards to the New World. He saw a brutal massacre of Native Americans in 1514, and then he started denouncing what the Spaniards were doing. What were they doing?
Killing him.
First, they were drawing little boxes. They were removing tribes to places where they could be used as slave labor. And then they killed them. And the idea is that some of the statistics say that in the first 50 years since the Europeans arrived in the New World, so from 1492 to 1542, that's 50 years, 12 million Native American people died. So that's why we're kind of putting it in perspective.
We spent a lot of time at the beginning of the year looking at our perspectives and how things change as we become used to global events. This is why it's so important for you guys to keep track of your current events, to know what's going on in the world around you, because it didn't just start with Nazi Germany. It didn't just start with Hitler trying to kill 11 million Jews, communists, socialists, and pretty much everybody else. But it started long before that, and it's happened time and time again since. These timeout boxes that we had for you, this would be similar to what for you guys? The timeout before the gassing occurred. What happened? Most of your grandparents went there. Maybe. Boarding schools, perhaps?
Or missions.
Missions? This is where you went to change your ways. Like I was telling you guys, especially that we're over there. We're just going to retool you. We're just going to get you back in the right frame of mind. Don't worry. That's what those were designed to do. To get you Americanized, to get you assimilated into American culture. Didn't necessarily have the devastating effects that the Holocaust had, at least not initially, but it does. You guys still feel it today. You're still feeling it now. You're waiting for money for things that have been done wrong to you for hundreds of years. It's no different. And it's not just you, it's not just Jews. It's happened in Cambodia, it's happened in Laos, it's happening in Darfur, all over Africa. These uprisings occur, people get killed, genocides happen every day. That's why it's so important to learn about this stuff now. So that someday, you think about what you saw, it's my little magnet, some of you have noticed, and it never happens again.
The
These are
idea of the
parallels you
boarding
see.
school, kill the Indian, not literally kill, but to kill the Indian inside, to change their ways, to make them become more assimilated. As Steve mentioned, my grandmother was, I'm from Los Angeles, and so our tribe, Tongva, our tribe was taken to missions. There are 21 missions up and down the coast of California. Have any of you ever been to California and seen the missions? First, the missions were established to change Indian ways and to use Indians as slaves. But then those cities developed. Los Angeles was originally a mission. San Diego started as a mission. The Spanish tried to train the Indians how to become, away from their ways. Language was lost. Culture was lost. And those effects are devastating. In effect, they were our reservations, the missions. But with that came the effects that we still feel today. I talk with my kids all the time that we carry that dysfunction because that kind of genocide, if you will, killing of culture, was designed to kill the group, kill the tribe. But then that filters down to the family and then to individuals. And so much of us still carry that with us. We carry the anger. We carry we don't understand. How could that happen to any human beings? We carry that with us on a daily basis. And so sometimes that comes out in the form of alcoholism, drug abuse, all of those things that all of us carry within our families. But it's important that we learn the lessons of the history of where it comes from so we go forth with the understanding of the history. But the idea, as you mentioned, that Katie mentioned, we should not allow it to happen anywhere. It's against the human existence to see those kinds of atrocities. And so that idea of silence, what are the consequences of remaining silent when you know there's injustice that's happening? What are the consequences? If we sit and we watch and we listen and we think, well, that's not us. That's happening over there. That can't happen here. Silence.
Or even that mentality, well, nobody helped me, so why should I help you? Where does that leave us?
And it did happen here. Right here. And it's part of your heritage. 150 years ago. You know what's coming up in November? I'm just asking any of the students if they do. Do you know what's being commemorated 150 years ago this November?
You should. You did a project on it before Christmas break.
Sand Creek.
Sand Creek. And so, of course, the peoples that are affected, the peoples put in the prisons, in the concentration camps, in Germany, they protested, but they were in no position to protest. Why don't the people outside protest? This is what Mr. Lassos was saying. Why do people remain silent? Well, not everybody did. And one captain of the Colorado 3rd Volunteer Regiment who went down to Sand Creek to participate, when he got there, he said, "I'm not participating, and my men are not either." And he kept his group out. That was Silas Sewell.
That was your project, Cody. Your board was on
Oh.
silence.
So one voice can make a difference. One voice who saw these events happening and refused to accept the so-called battle. Many of the reports on the part of the American soldiers were that this was a brave battle fought against the Arapaho. But there were those who said, "I cannot stand and watch this. I'm going to tell the truth of what I saw." And what I saw was not a battle. It was a massacre. And that issue still is ongoing. It's still alive today. And if it weren't for the letters that were found, when were the letters found, Steve? Years later.
Oh, years.
Years later.
Like 1907 or something.
Yes. Only then did that word, did that perspective get out that this was not a brave battle fought by soldiers against warriors. This was a massacre of women and children. And someone stood up and said, "I cannot accept this." And imagine a military soldier, a military captain saying, "I'm going against the flow. I'm going against the story they're telling. I'm going to put my career, my life at risk by telling the truth." And it did cost him his life. He was assassinated.
Yep.
And there's a marker in Denver of the spot where his gravesite is there, and there's a marker in downtown Denver at the spot where he was assassinated. Someone who spoke up.
So we talk about Holocaust and genocide. Two big words. Genocide is the mass killing of people. Holocaust is a targeted attack on a large group of people in which they're put in prisons and they're killed outright. You tell me, because I don't know what your feelings are on this. What happened to the Native Americans? You don't even need to talk about all Native Americans. What happened to Arapaho and Cheyenne? Was that genocide? Was it Holocaust in your book? In your mind? What do you think? I'm just going to open it up for some comments from you. Because now we did this little role play, and thanks to our Nazi, things were working the way they did in Germany. And then we had a vote, and then everything went crazy. So what do you think? Because remember, it was votes in the U.S. Congress and the Senate with Andrew Jackson and the Removal Act, some terrible things. These were all voted on. It's a democracy. So what do you think? You guys are pretty quiet.
Cody, you never mind. You've got something to say in there.
Nothing.
What do you see it like? Is it the same? Is it different? How or why?
I think it's the same.
Sure feels the same. Sure looks the same.
effects are the same.